Today I woke up thinking it was a normal day until I saw my calendar. It was once again September 20th. I couldn't believe it was already that day again, Pinecone Day. So I went outside to go find as many pine cones as I could for Pinecone Day, but something wasn't right. It was way cooler than average outside, way cooler. I checked my weather app, but something was immediately wrong. It didn't show the temperature, it was broken. I went up to K-Fly and asked why it was so cold and the weather app was broken. He told me that Ender's head is in its break phase, where it does the opposite of warming things up. It cooled down everything drastically, which caused weather apps to break. I went to the forest and the leaves on the trees were barely moving. There was no pine cones in sight. Is this it, the day I can't find pine cones? I refuse to not find pine cones. I've always found pine cones, and especially on Pinecone Day. This is the day where there's the most pine cones, but Ender's bald head just has to exist and ruin Pinecone Day. I needed to talk to Dynamic, but he was still in North Korea, so I had to resort to this other nerd named TCA. I asked him if we could invent a heating device to warm up Ender's head, as it had already replaced the sun. Me and TCA were in the laboratory all night inventing the heating device. We finished it and wanted to test it. That morning we shot a laser at his head, hoping it would warm up and bring things back to normal. I felt the heat coming, it worked. But it kept getting hotter. TCA tried to stop the laser, but by the time he let it go, Ender's head sucked up all that energy and slowly became redder and brighter. This was already terrible. It was too cold for pine cones, now it's too hot for pine cones. There was no way to cool it back down as it would cause another catastrophe before it popped. I had no idea on what to do, but the idea came to me. I remembered one of my friends knew how to crochet. But wouldn't Ender's head just burn through it instead of trapping the heat? Well, my friend was the best crocheter I had ever known, so we could cool down Ender's head with it somehow. I let my friend work on that, and I had to accept I wouldn't find any pine cones today as the process would take 2 days. However, I couldn't believe what I had saw. I found the biggest and most perfect pine cone I had ever seen. I picked it up and was proud that I found pine cones. Later that night I went to bed. The next day I stepped outside, and I immediately felt hot. Ender's head was about to get too hot. Now weather apps couldn't read the temperature for being too hot. Instead I went to watch the news and I saw that K-Fly was doing something. He was traveling to North Korea to rescue Dynamic. I was happy to see K-Fly bringing Dynamic back from North Korea. If this plan failed, then Dynamic would be our only hope. Monday the 22nd came and school was surprisingly not cancelled. Despite the 130-degree weather where we had to use special equipment just to get to school. The teacher was teaching us about how to grow a hairline, but no one here was bald but him. Was bro jealous that we had hair? We called out the teacher and he got mad and ran out furiously and burned from Ender's bald head. It was 145 degrees outside by then. Later school dismissed and everyone hated getting home from school. But I remembered my friend's experiment was done, but I had to drive 10 miles hoping my car wouldn't melt. I saw it. The world's biggest blanket. We went on a rocket ship to space, but there was a problem. There is no gravity in space, so how do we wrap it around Ender? With the second issue being his head will burn us to death? Well, TCA had invented a gravity gun during those 2 days that he had left in this rocket ship. It's like he knew we were going to space. We used the gravity gun to wrap the blanket around Ender's head. Incredibly, this worked perfectly as the blanket was made out of reinforced wool. The temperatures went back down to normal. It didn't freeze everything as the small holes in the blanket made it so Earth is still warm enough to live on. This also made Ender's head not as bright. Pine cones finally grew and fell out of the pine trees over the next week. Me and everyone decided to go out and find as many pine cones as possible. After we had fixed Ender's head, Dynamic had made it back to Earth and he invented a stillness potion. If Ender's head was acting strange again, he could just use the potion and everything would stay normal. We all ended up finding tons of pine cones and we had a successful September as always. Once we dealt with Ender's head, Dynamic was saved by K-Fly, and we found pine cones. We all hanged out like normal,